And welcome back, footy fans, to another episode of Donnie's Disposals. I am your host, Coach Donnie Hess here, back with another AFLW. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, there is no overlap, so we are just going to talk the W, AFLW Round 3 review. Cannot wait for this. The women take center stage while the men take a seat, getting ready for the finals. Round 3 action was scintillatingly fun. And joining me today, a very good friend, a superstar of the SANFL W. We were having a fun conversation. The current Norwood player, but as she told me, she may be on the move, ladies and gentlemen. I won't say anything other than that. But joining me, Miss Kiana Lee. Kiana, it is great to see you again.
Thanks, Donny. Thanks for having me. And I'm super excited to get this recap over from round three. It was an exciting round to talk about, so I'm looking
It
forward to
was
it.
it was fascinating. I know. I remember messaging you halfway through the round, and you had the pleasure of sitting in the press box for the Port Adelaide Gold Coast Suns match, which I know as a power supporter, you probably gave you a mighty grin that day.
Yeah, that was a cracking game. Probably one of the best games I've seen them play in their whole career of being in the AFLW. What a cracking game it
Yeah.
was.
Well, we will have more fun breaking that game down a little bit later because I know that the grin will not leave your face discussing that one. So let's get right into it. Let's hop into the fun. 9 games of football, four round three, a little bit of everything, some crackers, some absolute destructions, some defensive games, some offensive games. It was fun. Your thoughts on round three as a whole?
Well, I think the game is getting better week by week, and the first couple of rounds, especially as a Port supporter, was tough to watch. But overall, I think the game is developing significantly and it's growing. You see a lot more pace into the game, a lot more defensive transition, which is you can see a lot of teams working on that, but more so like offensive football, being able to hit those short kicks and then converting in front of goal. Some really high margins as well, which is exciting. You hear a lot of, there's still some hate comments around saying it's very low scoring game, but to see that score getting on the board, it's really exciting for the game, and I'm looking forward to chatting about each game individually, which would be nice.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. And my biggest thing is this with Kiana is that the people are like the game is so low scoring. But you don't hear that complaint when you have a 55-52 game in the AFL and they
Yeah,
have more time and more players on the field. But we
yeah,
can't say that. So
no, no.
we will not give that any
The
more
haters are gonna
oxygen.
hate.
The knuckle draggers on Twitter and Instagram and all that, you just kind of ignore them because many of them they have to rub a couple of pencils together to actually get fire, and then
Yeah,
they go. So we just
yeah.
move on from that. Let's
Hmm.
I cannot wait. Let's get right into it. Game one of my favorites, Dream Time up in Darwin as Richmond take on Essendon and the Bombers with an impressive 15-point win, beating the Tigers 43 to 28. Loving Indigenous round. It is always one of my favorites, but to do it up in the top end up in Darwin, how
Yeah.
cool is it
Oh,
to see the
so
game up
good.
there?
So good, and even seeing all those Indigenous guarantees as well, it's crazy. And all the Indigenous people getting around, they're making painting boots and stuff. That's really good for the community, especially to play in Darwin. That's super special as well. So lucky for Essendon and Richmond to be able to play up there in a Dreamtime game. Um, yeah, it was an interesting game. Richmond, I think, were a little bit inaccurate. I think just finishing with 3 goals 10, which is a bit upsetting. But Sierra Greaves on debut for Richmond starred with 18 disposals. So what a little jet. Um, yeah, super exciting game to watch.
Yeah, I know Kate McNamara on the post show after the round that she does with Sarah Ollie was kind of like, where's Sierra Greaves been? She was incredible today. Why was she not playing? So
Yeah,
it's
should have
it's
played round one.
yeah. I was like, you're sitting here going, well, if this is how good she can play, why wasn't she playing round one against Sydney at North Sydney
Yeah.
Oval? I don't know. It's very interesting. The Tigers are a team this year that they're kind of confusing to me because I know. a lot of experts. And again, it's I think we've all had that moment where we've tipped at the start of the season thinking that one
Yeah.
team is going to be really well,
Yeah.
and it just didn't go the way we wanted. I'll mea
Yeah.
culpa in the SANFL W this year. I had Glenelg
Yeah.
winning the whole thing, and Glenelg finished towards the bottom. So, so it
It'll
happens.
be,
Sometimes the tip just goes a little haywire. So I'm a little interested to see how Richmond bounce back because if you look at their list, there's some incredible talents. Mon Conti, Grace
yeah.
Egan, Ellie
Yeah.
McKenzie, Katie Brennan, Caitlin Greiser, so
Even,
many great ones.
I've got one of my ex teammates who's made the move from Crows, Montana McKinnon, coming back from
Mhm.
ACL soon, hopefully. So hopefully she gets a debut this season. Be good for them to get a solid ruck and her to be back playing footy as well, which will be good for them, I think, as well. So
Yeah, no, I agree. I think she'll bring a little bit more. I think Poppy Kelly does as best she can, but you can tell
yeah,
that with when she's undersized. This was probably the game I think Poppy Kelly probably had a little bit more success. She wasn't going up against a monster
yeah,
like an Allie Morford in round
yeah,
one. And I think
hmm
round two she faced Alice Edmonds, which are two really good rucks. I mean, there's
yeah,
three or four really great rucks, and then there's rucks that are good, but there's very few dominant rucks in the AFLW. So yeah, I think
yeah,
when Montana comes in, I think that'll really help them, especially when you've got the elite ball talent that they have in Mon Conti and
yeah.
Ellie McKenzie
Even
and
her
Grace
presence
Egan.
with her marking overhead as well. Montana's got strong hands.
Yeah.
Even you could put her up as a key forward. Even I think she'd be exciting one to watch if she gets a game.
Yeah, but it was looking and seeing what Georgia Nanscon does through the middle. Maddie Prasparkas
Yeah,
through the center are incredible.
both of them
Georgia G
incredible.
found the goal kicking boots and put a couple through in this
Yeah,
particular
they've got
game.
very fast ball movement and very attacking game.
Yeah.
Essendon, so they're exciting to watch, and I'm actually surprised. I think they might do really well this season. Might finish in the top three, I reckon, if they keep playing how they're playing.
We'll have to see again. We're three games in.
Oh yeah,
There's
three
still
games
you're
in. I think I've watched a lot of their games last year. It's pretty exciting. I think done well this year so far, so it'd be exciting to see.
yeah.
We'll
No,
see how
it'll
it goes.
yeah, the fixture will get more difficult. I don't think they've had the three most difficult opponents either. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna hold judgment on Essendon a little bit
I'm.
because it's a little bit like Sydney. We'll discuss it a little bit with their game a little bit too.
Yeah,
Is it have they had the most difficult opponents to play during the start of the year? Probably most would say no. Again,
yeah,
they're going to get tougher matchups. The question will be is how do they play in those? Because you're looking at a team like Fremantle. Fremantle's 0-3, but they've
mhm,
played three tough teams. Same thing with Geelong. They played three
yeah,
good teams. So the latter is a little bit misleading, a little bit. So yes, they're three
hmm,
and 0, but let's hold the horses again. I know it's a 12 game
yeah,
season. It's the other thing that's kind of interesting about the women is because they don't play every team once. It does kind
hmm,
of put some false flags up there. So we'll really have to see. I'm fascinated again. I'm
yeah,
hoping the Tigers get it figured out because I think there's just too much talent for them to be where they are. But again, I
yeah,
think they face some teams that are just the littlest bit better than them, and they've just been a little bit too bomb heavy going into the middle. Katie Brennan is a great mark, but I don't know if she's a great pack mark. So this
yeah,
constant getting to the launch zone right
100%.
around 50 and bombing it in, it's just not working because intercept defenders and then it's bouncing right back out very easily. And the other
Yeah,
teams, as long as they are decent with ball movement, are going right down the field and punishing
hmm,
Richmond for a lack of finding a target. So I'll be,
yeah,
like I said, there both these teams, I'm gonna hold judgment just the tiniest bit on both of them because
right.
Essendon, yes, you're 3-0, but have you faced the best? Richmond, you're 0-3, but are you really a bottom four side?
Hmm,
Probably not. But again, we'll hold judgment. So we'll jump up
yeah,
Henson Park up in Sydney, where Kirwana, the Adelaide Crows, take on the GWS Giants, and the Crows show their dominance with a 32-point win over the Giants, 54-22. But I will say this, though. I will give the GWS Giants some kudos because when they lost to Elise Parker, I legitimately thought this. season is over already. I thought
Yeah.
the Giants are going to struggle. They're going to get
Yeah.
punished by teams like Adelaide by 50, 60, 70, which they have before with
Hmm.
Elise in the lineup. They only lose by 32. Were the Crows at their best?
I don't think
No,
so.
but they were better than they were in round one against St. Kilda, which we all saw that monumental collapse on that one. And I
Yes.
think there's still some Crows fans that are still a little salty over that particular loss. The Crows were back to their normal. And Hatchard comes up big in this game, kind of getting back to normal. And Hatchard, Ebony Marinoff
Yeah.
is Noffy. I mean, let's just be honest. She is who she is. Eloise
Yeah.
Jones looks like she's getting back to
Getting back
her
into it.
normal self. Chelsea Bedell was solid down. Chelsea Bedell was down back.
Danielle Ponta is
Ponta,
getting
yep,
back to her game again.
yep.
After round one, she's found her feet. Also played her 75th game on the weekend, which is good for her. Yeah, Crows had a really dominant first quarter,
Mhm.
finishing with 4 goals, 7-0-1. So that was a good start for them. Got them kicked off, which is obviously what you want as a coach for Matthew Clark.
Mhm.
You want a good start, and they will just be able to hold off the game, which is great.
Yeah, no, they were fantastic. They were fantastic. They did what they needed to do. They kind of put it into cruise control come the second half, and I think
Hmm.
GWS kind of capitalized in on a little bit. I think that's the reason why the margin's a little bit closer than it probably should have been.
Yeah,
I would have almost, if I'm the Adelaide Crows, because of that defeat in round one, I would have loved to kind of then put the foot on the throat a little bit more and push this to a 50, 60 point win. But you
yes,
get the win on the road. I still think you're still finding some connections with this group
yeah,
again. This isn't the same Crows from the first three seasons where they won two of the
yeah,
first three, two of the,
hmm
two of the first three premierships. If I saw that, there's already shown a picture. There's only four left. There's only four
yeah.
players from those first few premierships still on. Anne Hatchard, Ebony Marinoff, Chelsea Randall. I think
Sarah
Chelsea.
Allen.
Yeah, I think Sarah Allen is the last one. That's it.
Yeah,
Like everybody else is new. So you're starting to see the youngsters who've come up from the SANFL W or have been brought in. You're starting to see kind of the mid-level people that maybe didn't
yeah,
feature in those early years. So
yeah.
the Crows have developed well. It'll be fascinating. I love seeing India Rashid. I know
They've got
for
some
you
good
as a
depth for sure.
for you as a SANFL W player, like thank God we don't have to see her anymore.
Yes, yes. Tearing it up at the SANFL W. She was actually playing really good footy at the Crows. Slotted in quite nicely, especially as an 18-year-old. She's really exciting to watch. Her kicking penetration is elite.
Yep, yep.
Um, yeah, I love watching her play. Her left foot, best kick I've seen.
Yeah, she was
Yeah,
fantastic. It was one of those on draft night. I thought if Zippy Fish didn't fall to the Swans, I would have loved that. I would have loved if Sydney would have taken India, but Zippy fell to us. So I'm not gonna
yeah.
complain too. I'm not gonna
You're not going to
complain too
complain.
much. And in some
Yeah.
situations, I think I had heard things that India didn't want to leave South Australia. So the fact that she did fall to the Crows actually
Mhm.
was good for her as well because
Yeah.
that's where she wanted to be, which is perfectly okay. No problem with
Yeah.
that. Everybody has what they think is going to be best for them. So, but she's
Yeah.
flourishing there, which I kind of knew she would again.
Yes.
This is going to be a fun Crows team to watch. I'm fascinated to see how they grow. I think that round one was a reality check to this group. I think they
Yeah.
kind of went in. I think they went into that first game a little bit on autopilot. And the Saints took it to them, but they did not go on autopilot on this one. An impressive win at NG State up at Henson Park. So let's jump down to RSEA Park. And ladies and gentlemen, I am not going to even try to butcher this, okay? St. Kilda and the West Coast Eagles take on at RSCA Park. And if you stopped watching the game after the first quarter, you would have no idea how this game ended because it did not end
Yes.
the way it started. Because St. Kilda jump out to an early lead, and the West Coast Eagles go and reel them back in with the
Such a good game.
brilliance of Ella Roberts as the Eagles get a
Oh,
14-point win,
elite.
42-28. Ella Roberts, you absolute superstar.
To finish off the game in the last quarter with 8 disposals and 2 goals, really capped it off for them. But that's probably the best win under Daisy Pearce for Eagles.
Mhm.
Um, the Eagles kicked 5 unanswered goals in the last quarter to win the game and run away with it against St Kilda, which is a solid effort for them. I think, especially being down, and then Charlie Thomas to come up forward and you know Daisy Pearce made a few positional changes and putting Charlie Thomas up forward, who kicked a goal with 3 minutes to go in the game. Yeah, super exciting team. I think Eagles might be another team to watch this year.
No, I am with you. The Eagles are going to be fantastic again. What Daisy Pierce is doing with this young squad is absolutely fantastic because you are seeing her footy mind and her
Yeah,
structure with this young group, and they are soaking it in like sponges. It is fantastic. And I mean, Ella Roberts right now, it's hard to argue that she is not sitting there up there for the best and fairest. I mean, she has to. I mean, I think in both of their wins, she has to have 3 votes. I would be
yeah,
shocked if she doesn't get 3 votes for both of those. And I
she is a
bet even in
freak.
that loss last week, she probably gets the two. So
Yeah,
I think she's sitting here maybe a couple.
comfortably, I think.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I'm looking at it going, Jazzy Garner's probably only got 6 because she's probably, if she gets 6 again, for some weird reason, the umpires do not like to vote for Jazz Garner. I don't know why. And I'd be
Yes.
interested to see how the votes went for Brisbane games this because sometimes even in losses, some for some weird reason Brisbane players get 3 votes. But
Hmm.
right now, I would say Ella Roberts has a very good argument to say she's near the top of the best and fairest voting after round one. It'll be
Yep.
fascinating on the best and fairest night to see how she polls because right now I have a hard time seeing not seeing 8 votes already
She
under
has
her
got a
name.
lot of talent. A lot of talent. I reckon you can play her in a few positions as well. She's great to watch. I'm loving her game. Probably one of my favorite players for West Coast, to be honest.
Yep. She's one of those, and Lucia Painter, one of their new full forward is
Yes.
fantastic. And then I agree with you. Charlotte Thomas is an absolute ripper. She's
Yeah.
fantastic. Another one of those great ball moving center
Hmm.
halfback flanker players that I think
Yeah.
is the future of the AFLW. Cannot wait. So let's jump down to a GMHBA stadium down in Geelong as the Swans survive a scare from the Cats and get a 5 point win, 50-45. This was an arm wrestle game. The old ball coach was a little nervous come the last probably 30 seconds of this particular game, but the Swans pull out the win, stay undefeated at 3-0, and the Cats unfortunately go down 0-3. But again, this is one of those where the uneven scheduling, the non-playing everybody, I feel kind of bad for the Cats because they may already be out of the finals. And it's only round three,
Yeah.
but they're probably just as talented and probably should be a finals team because that's how good this team is.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
missing Chloe Shear. They're missing a few pieces from
Yes.
a really
Yeah,
good
for
Cats
sure.
team. And the Swans, they did enough. They got jumped early, and
Yeah.
you could kind of see a little bit of panic set in. Scotty Gallons kind of pulls them together after quarter time. They kind of go, okay. And then the second quarter, the Swans finally start get going, and then it becomes
Yeah.
an incredible game of football.
Well, you can't go past, players like Georgie Prespakis, 27 disposals, 10 clearances, to have her in your midfield. Oh, I'd love to have her in my team. That's for sure. And, Maloney's like an outstanding forward. Kicked 3 goals as well. Just
Mhm.
unlucky, they're missing those few players that just make the team, strong. And Sydney Swans, they're playing great footy. They're 3-0. Geelong giving up a few turnovers, which resulted in goals for Swans. I think
Mhm.
that was probably what let them down a little bit. But Zippy Fish as well, 23 disposals, and Chloe Malloy, 24 disposals and a goal.
Mhm.
Didn't Malloy kick 7 goals
Yep, last week.
in
Yep.
one game? Yeah,
Yep.
last week.
Gold
That's
Coast last
yeah,
week. Yep.
good to see her back and playing great footy. She's an insane talent. So
Yeah, no, I'm just she's come back and she's looked really, really good. I love how Scotty's been using her. She hasn't been
Yeah.
fully midfield. She's been mostly forward, kind of keeping that ability to go as that full forward to kind of test a smaller defender because she is, despite her lack of height, she's super strong and super good at maintaining space where she needs it. Zippy Fish has been incredible. Like I said, I've been trumpeting her name for 2 years, like legitimately on draft night, I've told this to somebody. On draft night, I told Swans fans, I said, if Zippy Fish falls to us, you are going to love her. You were
Yeah.
legitimately going to love her because she is Mon Conti 2.0, silky smooth with ball in hand. Seems like nobody ever tackles her. Very rarely does she get tackled because
Hmm.
she's that smooth. And I remember so many people after round one, and they all just kind of looked at me like, "Damn, Donnie, you were right." I said, "I know. I've been watching this girl for 2 years. I watched her as a 17-year-old tear up the Waffle W and win a premiership with East Fremantle. I've seen this girl for 2 years. I have loved her to death. She and Molly O'Hare from the WA were both two of my favorites in her draft class that I thought
Yeah.
would fit Sydney's system. Good kick, speedy, can move, doesn't need to play in the center. They can play off that halfback flanker. They were two of my favorites, and we got one of them. I was over the moon that particular particular
Yeah.
draft
To
night.
be an 18, 19-year-old player just to come in, debut round one and dominate the game, like, that is like, it's good to have. She has the confidence in herself and just the ability to, be smart with the footy, composed, quick. But another player, you'd love to have in your team, and she's going to be exciting to watch in years ahead for sure.
Yeah, well, in the first interview to go, do you get nervous before games? No, I don't really get nervous about anything.
Yeah.
She's
I did see
19 years
that.
old.
I did see that. I was like,
19
oh,
years
I wish I
old,
had that
cool,
confidence.
cool as the other side of the pillow,
Yeah.
as an old announcer up here used to say all the time. She's as cool as the other side of the pillow. I mean,
Yeah.
she just does not get rattled. She doesn't get emotional. She's so
Super
even
calm.
keeled. It is fantastic, and I
Yeah.
cannot wait to watch her grow because I think she's only going to get better as she gets older. I think she will shift closer into the midfield as as the years go on. I think she won't stay at the halfback flank too long. I think she'll become a move up to the wing and maybe even into the center with her
Yeah.
ability with footy in hand and her speed.
Hmm.
It is going to be so much fun to watch that little ripper. But
Exciting.
I will say this though. This once it is so great to see Ali Morfitt back healthy
Oh,
too, because
yes. Yeah.
honestly, I said there were about four really dominant rucks. Mim Strong out in Fremantle.
Hmm.
One we're going to talk about here in just a second with her incredible performance in the next one. Ali Morfitt,
Hmm.
And then Jess Allen is really one of the other ones that I could sit here and say is a dominant ruck. The rest of the rucks in the
I
league,
think Matilda
honestly,
Schultz as well.
I was gonna. That's why I said the game
Oh,
next.
the next.
Stay
Okay.
with
Okay.
me, Kay. Stay with me.
Sorry.
Okay.
Spoiler alert, guys.
Yeah. No.
Sorry.
It's so those are the four. I mean, Matilda,
Yeah.
Mim, Allie, and Jess Allen. I mean,
Yeah.
Allie Morfitt this year has refound her form when she was All Australian in 2023. It is
Yeah.
so great to see her back. She had 23 disposals in this game. She is another midfielder, but with the height and length that she has, she has a really good kick, a really good kick forward. It's so good to see her back. So having her and Chloe back healthy, I think
Yeah.
shows you that last year's Swans team really one of the reasons they were where they were was purely because some of their best players were not on the park. And now you're seeing their best players. Plus, they infused Darcy Maloney, who kicks a goal against her old side. Jazz Grierson, who came from
Hmm.
GWS, kicks her first goal in
Yeah.
8 years. As
Hmm.
her first goal was in the first game on AFLW season one, and then she kicks a
Hmm.
goal in this game in AFL season 10. How
Yeah.
awesome a stat was that? So Jazz Gerson, the defender, kicks a goal in this. They're getting impact from from the players they brought in this year. So
Yeah.
not only did they have a turnover change, I had 9 players left the club, combination of
Hmm.
delistings, tradings, and retirements.
Yeah.
And the players they brought in, Ashvin Loon, Jazz Grierson, Darcy Maloney, all have made an Lulu Puller
Yeah.
all have made impact on this particular team. It has been incredible. I have to tip my hat to the recruiting team and Scotty Gallants because the players he's brought in have made impacts and it's been
Yeah.
incredible. So
Yeah.
let's go to it. I know you are chuffed as all to get to this next one as your Yartapulti Port Adelaide Power destroy the Sun by 68, 108 to 40. I will also caveat this. I started to feel really bad for the Sun after quarter one because they lose two players in the first quarter to injury. Well, one to
Yeah.
concussion, the other one to, I think it was some kind of leg
Shoulder.
injury. Well,
Yeah.
Charlie Rowbottom played through her shoulder injury, which
Didn't look good.
kudos to her for doing it. But I think the only reason that she did it was because if she goes out, they have one rotation. That's it
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
rest of the game. So as brave as it was more out of pure survival by the Gold Coast
Yeah.
than it
Hmm.
was for her bravery. Because I think honestly, if Gervin doesn't go down with a concussion in the first 5 minutes of the game,
Hmm.
and one of their other players didn't go down with a leg injury, I think
Hmm.
Rowbottom is done. They sit her down,
Yeah.
you're done.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
because they were already two rotations down, they couldn't really afford to lose a third. That's why
Yeah.
she continued to play. She gutted it out. I mean, but I every time she touched the ball, you could tell it hurt. It
Hmm.
hurt. But
Yeah.
let's not focus purely on the Gold Coast Suns because the Power were incredible, including as you just brought up the mythical creature that is Matilda Schultz because four
She
goals from a rock.
she is insane. Like that game on the weekend, like she had a high number stat for every column on the stat sheet. And to have 22 disposals, I think it was 7 clearances,
Yeah.
the highest meters gained, 4 goals as well. Insane. And I think she's just 20, maybe 21. Um, she's everything you want, and especially as a
Mhm.
rock.
Yeah.
You can't ask for a better rock, I don't think. She's pretty agile as well. For someone of her height, obviously she's got long legs, but her speed as well to get separation from her opponent, and to finish that goal from the boundary as well. That was clean. So
Hmm.
um, she's super exciting to watch. And I played against her at SANFL level, and I never liked playing against her. 'Cause, she's obviously tall and strong, and obviously with the skills she's got. Hard player to be manning up on for sure. But yeah, what a game from her.
And the scary part is you were playing with her and she was already strong at 17.
I know.
That's that's
I know.
the scary part about Matilda Schultz
I
was the
know.
fact is that Port Adelaide was super smart because they signed her pre-signing period. So not
Yeah.
only because I remember talking to him with my draft expert, he goes Dottie, he goes if Matilda would have went in the draft she was supposed to go instead of signing when she did, he goes,
Hmm.
basically, Port Adelaide got one, two, three, five, and seven in that
Yeah.
particular draft class because she was in the same class with Lauren Young, Piper Window, Molly Brooksby.
Hmm.
I mean, legit, and Shanae Goody. She was in that
Yeah.
same class, and Port Adelaide got them all.
Hmm.
So that's kind of the crazy part about thinking about it was the fact is that they pre-signed Matilda Schultz once the season is over. Then they in the pre-signing period sign Lauren Young, sign Molly Brooksby, and sign
Yeah.
Shanae Goody, and then draft
What a
Piper
class.
and
Draft
then
class. That's
signed
insane.
Piper. Piper was the only one they actually drafted. All the other
Yeah.
four they had signed before, and he literally, I remember my draft. He said Port Adelaide played this perfectly. He goes, they probably got four of the best five girls in that particular year coming into
Yeah.
the season, and they only
For
had to
sure.
actually only draft one. And that was Piper
Yeah.
Window, who that particular year came out of nowhere at Glenelg. She was
Hmm.
talked about as being a talent, but she was not a top 10 pick. It was
Yeah.
how she played at Glenelg that year was insane.
Yeah. For sure.
So, no,
What
it
a
was.
yeah. I mean, the talent coming through, and that year, obviously,
Mhm.
for Port to be able to pick up all those players, their future is looking
That's
super
their
bright.
core.
And they had a rough start to the season. Obviously, the first two games, obviously weren't very clean with the footy, but and it let them down. But to come back and bounce back like that, on the weekend. Obviously, Gold Coast haven't had the most ideal start to their season either, and probably isn't one of the most toughest teams to compete against. But I think Port, even Gemma Houghton to kick 4 goals, Indy Tahu to come back in her third game to kick 3 goals. Just I think it was like a good team, solid team effort as a whole. The defense held up, the transition, hit the short 45s, which probably saw them scoring most of their goals from hitting those short 45s. And I think Gold Coast, defense transition probably let them down a fair bit. They did have a few opportunities where they did hit the scoreboard, but I think Port, really held tight and just kept pushing and so yeah, they had a 108 point record breaking score. Only stood for 24 hours until North went over Freo, but
Mhm.
yeah, it's good for Port though.
Well, I will say one thing for Port that'll help them out though. When you play North Melbourne this year, most teams are going to get beat pretty
Oh
easily. Like let's just
yeah,
be on plainly honest. I have a few friends that are North supporters, and I basically messes them after this weekend and go, I just don't know if anybody's going to beat you unless North has an incredibly terrible day or unless
oh,
North loses like half their roster to
oh
injury.
yeah,
They
their
look
depth and
incredible. So I will
their
tell you this.
team.
Port is not that bad. Port really they can kind of hold their heads up because again, it's the one problem about getting to the preliminary final last year is your fixture is going to be more difficult this year than it was last year. It's kind of
Yeah,
the same thing with the Swans in 2023. The Swans benefited from a little bit of an easier fixture because the year before. That's why they did as well and made finals their second
yeah,
season. Port Adelaide
hmm
kind of had that same benefit in their third season was had some few injuries in season two, didn't finish as high, got a little bit what we would consider a softer draw, and they
yeah,
they they capitalized on it, got to the finals. This year you're kind of seeing they get a few more difficult tests. Maybe they may lose a game or two more than they did last year, but they may actually be better than the year before because
yeah,
Iron, Sharpens Iron. You play a North team. Again, they're incredibly good this year. They lose Jazzy
hmm
Garner in this game and still put up 114. Holy
yeah,
Nikes. So I would still say I think Port Adelaide is a dangerous side. And the scary part
hmm
is we still haven't even seen Lauren Young with this team yet. Lauren Young is still coming back
yes,
from her ACL. Who knows how good this team could be? Because think about it. I mean, you have Ash Woodland going forward, Gemma Houghton, and then add Lauren Young, who is a man who is an
yeah.
absolute monster as a
You know,
-year-old in the SANFL.
having Indy Tahu performed really well up forward on the weekend, but I think she's normally a traditional back, or even they throw her in the ruck at one point in the last time she played. But even to have that depth where she can, Indy can go up forward and back and perform well either end. It's exciting for them and to have that depth that they've got in the young team and the future for their game is going to be insane.
I
So
agree. 100% agree. So let's move on to the next one where, unfortunately, Matilda Schultz and Gemma Houghton both outscored both of these teams as the Hawthorn Hawks edge out the Bulldogs in an absolute
yes,
slugfest, 14 to
absolute
10.
messy game, wasn't it?
Yes, it was it
Um,
was it was it was a tough
not
one.
nice weather.
It was a
Not nice
tough
weather.
one to watch. I will give Emily Bates one thing after the game, what she said, and I appreciate this because there is some honesty in the AFLW that I really do enjoy. They are not going to
Hmm
sugarcoat it. They're not going to, I mean, proverbially give you the placebo to make you
hmm
think that something happened that didn't. Emily Bates was honest. She goes,
Yeah,
honestly, she goes, if you're a neutral, this was not a game you wanted to watch. This was not. I
yeah,
mean, I mean, 2 goals to 1 goal was the total number of goals. 3 goals in an
yeah,
entire game of football. Conditions weren't the greatest, so that doesn't help. But
yeah,
both teams were defensively as best they possibly could. The
yeah,
tackle pressure is nuts. I will agree. I will say this like I did last week. I think the holding the ball rule is a little over the top. I
yeah.
think
It's a
it
little bit
needs to
stiff,
be
isn't it?
dialed back just the littlest bit
Just a little
because there's
bit. Yeah,
still too many times where people are gathering the football, getting tackled, and getting holding the ball, and they have
Yeah.
that much time to try to make a
Yeah.
decision. And I know these are elite athletes, okay? These are some of the best athletes in the country, but
Hmm.
even athletes cannot do what you're asking them to do. It's just a little bit too much.
Especially in those conditions.
I think the women's have gone too far, and the men still hasn't gotten where it needs to go. Like there's a
Yeah.
middle ground between the two. I think the men's let it go too long. I think the women's is too quick. I think they need to
Yeah.
find something in between. I appreciate the Bulldogs finding a way to keep this grimy, to keep this tough, because again, the Bullies are still a young side. They still have a
Yeah.
lot of super young talent. The double hyphen,
Yeah.
Christy Lee Western Turner, Elaine Grigg, the former Central District superstar, looks fantastic.
Yeah.
An AFLW level, her tackling pressure is absolutely insane. But
Yeah.
this was just one of those where the Hawks did what they needed to do. They got enough done. Was this the greatest visual of AFLW football?
No.
Absolutely not.
No.
But you want to know what? I've seen some absolutely atrocious games in AFL level. So again, I
Yes.
will continue to say you cannot judge these two exactly the same. They are different. Tough
Yeah.
one for me because
I
this is a good Hawks side. It's a not bad Doggy side. Probably deserves
both
a little bit
pretty
better.
solid sides. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
both pretty solid sides. I think, the conditions definitely impacted the game on the weekend. And I think it's a little bit disappointing that, the last goal kicked was in the eighth minute mark of the second quarter. It'd be good to see a little bit more score on the board, but I think yes, the conditions. But overall, I don't think the teams are far off. Like I think they've both got very strong sides. It's just I think it was just one of those games
It's a fluke game.
with
There's,
the
like I said,
conditions and
there was AFL game this year that was 45-44. So
yeah,
I'm not gonna even address that particular thing on
yeah,
that one. So let's jump to
yeah, for
Victoria
sure.
Park where we see a thriller as the Nom Demons just edge out the Collingwood Magpies 37-33. This was an incredible game of football, and the way the D's were humming going into this game, I was worried because as Centra and the Collingwood Magpies again have struggled a little bit this season. They're trying to find their form. Again, some injuries. I know Bree Davies is still hasn't been 100%. Britt Benici again is fantastic. Absolutely love her
Oh,
through the middle.
outstanding game for her.
And seeing Kate Hoare and Taylor Harris absolutely in fuego form right now. They look fantastic. But Collingwood had a chance to win this at the
Oh,
siren.
she's hit the. She's.
Just slams into the post.
Oh,
But I
I
will tell you
know.
this.
How?
You hate the honorable loss, okay? I know
Yeah,
as an athlete, I know Kiana, you probably agree with this. You hate when people say, "Well, that was a good loss. That was an
yeah,
honorable loss." Collingwood, this is one of those you have to be happy with this because this
yeah,
is a nom team that honestly has looked fantastic through the start of the year.
yeah.
Again, draw. Again, we'll cover that a little bit later. Nom has benefited from finishing a little bit lower, so they're getting a little bit easier sides. But this was
Hmm.
a banana peel that they almost Nom almost face planted from because
Yeah.
Collingwood took it to them in the second half and damn near stole it from them.
Oh, 100%. You know, having Benici in the midfield as well. Unlucky, to get that hit the post in the last, 20 seconds of the game. Oh, would have been nice to see it go through. I think after the fight back, I think Collingwood probably deserved it. But Melbourne, you can't go past Melbourne. They're looking pretty strong. Um, yeah, they're probably going to be a team to watch this season as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the pies are going to be one of those that are going to be fun to watch because I think they may nip somebody. If you take a day off against Collingwood, they may get you. And I
yeah,
reached out to a D supporter of mine who literally said she goes Collingwood should have won that game. Collingwood was probably the better side in the second half. So
yeah,
like I said, the D's will take the 4 points. I know the coach will probably chuck the game film in the bin because it was
yeah.
not what they wanted, but.
Hmm.
This is incredible because you love seeing this because there have been far too many times in the AFLW where it really is the big three or big four, and then everybody else is just kind of playing to be there. So
Yeah,
to see a side that many people expected to be towards the bottom of the ladder challenging a nom is good for the competition. This is good for the competition.
yeah,
Unfortunately, the next result is not. Because
Yeah.
I know the fear of God is in the rest of the competition as North Melbourne go out to Wallulup out in Fremantle and absolutely hand the Dockers their rear end on a silver platter, 114 to
Record
14,
breaking.
a 100
100
point
point
win.
win.
And this is despite losing Jazzy Garner to an ankle injury in the second quarter, and they still put up a century.
Yeah.
They raised the bat like the proverbial cricket player. Incredible. Ash Riddell,
I
fantastic.
can't go past her. She is
Oh, she
insane.
is.
2 weeks in a row.
Yep,
Oh, insane.
yep.
Quick, good ball user, gets lots of the footy. Um, yeah,
I mean,
I
somebody
can't.
actually, I,
I don't even have words to describe her. She's
I,
crazy.
I saw somebody say that they said if you equivalate the AFLW out to 20 minutes and take the disposal rate that Ash Riddell, she basically would have gotten 50 or more disposals in an AFL game. And she's
Hmm.
getting 40 and 43 in AFLW, which are shorter
Yeah,
quarters, less rota and it is
insane.
insane how good Ash Riddell is. I absolutely love her to death. She's my favorite. It's unfortunately she's probably one of the reasons why I'm not sure Jazzy Gardner will ever win a Best and Fairest because when you
They're
have
stealing votes off each other.
Emma Carney, Ash Riddell all in the same team, it is incredibly
All
difficult.
stealing votes.
Yes, exactly. And that's it's the fascinating part. But I absolutely love Ash Riddell. She's a little pocket rocket. Love her to death. She gets the footy. She's a very good disposal too. She does not butcher it. I absolutely love her to death. I'm a little disappointed in Wallulup. I honestly seeing Turbo come back, seeing Kiara Bowers, and see instead
Yeah,
it. I honestly thought this is a Fremantle side I could see making finals this year. I
yeah.
know I knew their run early in the season. Their
Hmm.
first year was going to be difficult.
Yeah.
I was not expecting two capitulations in 2 consecutive weeks. I know they're
Mm,
playing Brisbane and I know they're playing North. Okay. I know that. But these were capitulations on Fremantle. And I'm
yeah.
terrified because they're getting out the back. And the problem is who's on deck? Sydney,
Hmm.
one of the best from the defensive side to forward sides in the competition this year.
Yeah.
If I'm Fremantle, I'm terrified because
Hmm.
you've already been absolutely destroyed 2 weeks in a row, and you're facing a team that's
Yeah.
just as good from
Yeah.
that particular style. And now you have to face them, and you have to go across country to Henson Park and play
Yeah.
Sydney at Sydney. Fremantle right now, I feel for these girls because you've played two of the best teams in the league on your home deck, and you've been spanked by both of them.
Yeah.
There needs to be an internal pull together because this cannot happen. Because if you go
Yeah.
to Sydney this week and you drop it again, your season is proverbially done. You're a third of the way
Yeah.
through and you're at the bottom of the ladder. You aren't making
Yeah.
finals.
Hmm.
You hate saying it in the fourth game of the season, but Fremantle's already in win now. They
Yeah.
must win this game against
Yeah.
Sydney. And being at Henson Park always gets a really good turnout for Swans games. The Swans team is 3-0. It looks like a daunting task. So again, I feel for Fremantle in this
Yes.
situation because you've already been railroaded by two teams, and then
Yeah.
here's your follow-up prize. So I mean,
Good
North
luck.
was
Yeah.
incredible. Again, I'm wishing
It's
Jazzy Garner a speedy recovery. I hope
yeah.
it's not anything. I hope it's not a
Yeah, me
bad
too.
syndesmosis. I'm hoping it's just a rolled ankle, maybe a couple weeks out. North
Yeah.
will be fine. I mean, you've
I think
just an incredible team. So
I think for North to pile 11 goals after Jazz Garner left the ground, I think
mhm.
that just shows the depth that they've got and
Yep.
how they held up against any team in the comp. And I think uh, North Melbourne have now got the longest winning streak in AFLW
Yep.
history with
Four,
15 wins in a row,
15. Yep.
which is crazy. So hopefully they can continue that. I think they will with how they're going. They're not doing too bad if I say so myself. But yeah, it's I think any team that go up against North Melbourne are gonna struggle. I think just because the way they're playing.
The terrifying thought process is I'm sitting here going, I'm not sure if there's a team in the competition that can stop them. Like I'm sitting here,
Yeah,
I'm sitting here. I've been watching this competition for the last 4 years, and I've never seen a team this good for this
Yeah.
sustained period. And I'm sitting here
Yeah.
going, I think the Crows are not as good as they have been in years before. I don't think
Yeah.
Brisbane is as good as years before.
Yeah.
Nam is kind of coming back from a season where they haven't. Yes, you've got teams like Hawthorn, you've got teams like Port Adelaide, you've got teams like Sydney that are young and super talented, but that is a veteran, experienced, and very good North Melbourne team. I'm just
Yeah.
not sure if I see a team that's going to beat them. Another undefeated season could be on the cards, which honestly, as an AFLW fan, and this is just AFLW, this is not
Hmm.
that's a little discouraging for the rest of the competition when you've got a team that's that far ahead of everybody that
Yeah.
nobody
100%.
really it, again, as I told my North supporting friend, I said honestly, I just don't see anybody that's got the firepower to be able to stay with them as well as they're playing. Who knows? Maybe
Yeah.
form
Hmm.
drops away, maybe injury again. I'm not wishing upon it. I'm touching wood. Trust me, I don't want that to
Yeah.
happen. I don't like seeing
Hmm.
stars like Jazzy Garner go down. But that might be
Yeah.
the only way to even out against North is if they did not have their best on the park. For sure.
Yeah.
So, speaking of Brisbane, let's go up to Brighton Homes Arena where we see the stunner of the round, ending the round with an incredible shock as the
Oh,
Carlton
yeah.
Blues go up to Brighton Homes Arena up in Ipswich, up in Brizzy, and knock off the Lions 58-44. I mean, this is a Brisbane side. I don't know. Maybe I auto say that Brisbane most of the time is going to win. The round one against in round one, their round one game. Okay, I'll give them that. They've had round one troubles before. I get it.
Yeah. Hmm.
This came out of nowhere because this is a
Yeah.
Carlton side that honestly I believed was a bottom four side at the start of the year because I just didn't think they
Yeah.
were built that well. I thought they're too
Hmm.
tall. I don't know if they had the pressure, but
Yeah.
damn, was I wrong.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for Carlton, Carlton dominated that first half. They were up by 29 points at half time. Brisbane got within 9 points at three-quarter time, but couldn't convert on goal despite having, I think it was about 60% of the game in their forward half. So, but when you've got players like Dana Finn and, Abby McKay performing like they did,
Mhm.
um, you know,
Ron
I think,
Fitzpatrick had two in this game too. She was
yes,
incredible before she went down with
yes.
injury again. Another one. I'm
I think
hoping it's
I think
nothing
Carlton
bad.
actually have recruited well as well. I think their
Yes.
draft last year was was really good. So I think, and for those girls, I've got Matilda Schultz's sister Poppy, performing as
Mhm.
well, like she has been. Only 18, and playing first three games and performing each week. When you got players like that coming in and the depth they've got already, I think they could be another team
Well,
that got a good future.
And Darcy
Vesio.
Vesio going back. Like she's
Yeah,
been an incredible forward for Carlton.
yeah,
Their incredible career that they've had,
yeah,
and for them to go back and be just as
yeah,
good. Like I love Darcy.
yeah.
Incredible
To have
player.
players,
Fantastic.
like her, and there's probably a couple others on the. You can move around anywhere on the board, and they'd be able to, play their role,
Yeah.
which is great depth for them as
Yep.
well.
So we'll see. It's going to be fun. That's going to put a marker for Carlton for the rest of the year. It's going to be fun. So that is all nine
Yeah.
games. Again, we were treated to a plethora of everything from close games,
Hmm.
low scoring games, high scoring games, a
Yeah.
little bit of everything in this round. So we
Yeah.
will jump to one of my favorite parts of the podcast. That is the burning questions. These are some questions that have been rolling around in my head that I'm interested to hear what you have to say on this, Kiana. So we'll start off. We'll start with the positives. Okay, there are
All right.
five unbeaten teams still in this competition. Which of these five? And unfortunately, I've really given away my answer earlier in the podcast. For you, which of these five will be the last with the zero in the L column?
This was a very tough question for me to answer. I spent a bit of time on this earlier. And I think Sydney will be the last team unbeaten. Their next three games, all very winnable with Freo at home, Collingwood away, and Giants at home. Obviously, you can't look past North Melbourne. They play Brisbane away in round five, which might be their biggest test to remaining undefeated on their streak. But yeah, I mean, the team that North Melbourne have, I mean, I think it'd be very close between North Melbourne and Sydney. Just I guess with their fixture, I think Sydney have probably got the next three games probably the easiest games. But yeah, North Melbourne have got Brisbane coming up. It depends. Can't you don't really know the conditions on the day. It really depends. I think that's what I've thought about.
It's for me, I'm gonna look at it is like I said, I even know Jazzy Garner, I'm still hard for me to look and go, North Melbourne isn't going to. It's very,
Yeah,
very difficult. I agree with you. Having Brisbane on the schedule makes me a little bit more leery again, but it's a Brisbane team that has struggled against North Melbourne the last couple of times that they faced each
yeah,
other. I mean, North has got the wood over them, including a grand final win. Um,
yeah.
so I like Nom. Nom's and the other one. Like I think the top three teams on the ladder, North, Nom, Sydney, I think are the
Hmm.
final three. I think Essendon and Hawthorn both. Essendon this week have Geelong. I think I want to see how
Yeah,
Geelong respond because I know some people are going to say, well, they're 0-3, they're done. This is the round they have. Geelong have to win if they want any chance of still potentially making finals. They have to win this. Essendon
yeah.
facing a hungry Geelong team. That'll be interesting to see. Hawthorn, I'd have to look at their fixture. I've been less impressed with Hawthorn than I thought I would be. I
Yeah.
think they've played down to opponents a little bit. I know that the Western
Hmm.
Bulldogs are an improving side, but I think Hawthorn's
Yeah.
played down to their opponents.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I kind of lean on that. I think North Melbourne will be the last. But it will not shock me if it's Melbourne because their draw is relatively easier than years before, where they were facing
Yeah.
Adelaide, North, and Brisbane. This year, I don't think they play all three. So Nam has a little bit of an advantage. I know Sydney, I believe, does have North later on in the year. So I
Hmm.
know that's gonna be a fun clash. So I just I'm gonna say North.
Yeah.
But it will not shock me if Nam's the last one standing just because Kangaroos do have Adelaide and Brisbane still on their
Yeah.
schedule. And both
Hmm.
on their day can be a very difficult side, especially
Yeah.
if North doesn't have Jazzy Garner at the time. That could be a little bit of a swing in their
Yeah.
situation. So we've had the positive. Now, unfortunately, let's go to the negative because there's three teams at the start of the season that honestly a lot of experts were talking about as a final team, a team that could be competing for the flag. Richmond, Fremantle, and Geelong. All
Yeah.
except for Fremantle are 0 wins, 0 wins, 1 win. So
Yeah.
1 win for the three teams combined. For you, who do you
Yeah.
think is the most disappointing so far this year?
I think for me, probably Fremantle have now given up two 100-point margin losses in a row, with North Melbourne on the weekend and then Brisbane the weekend before. Obviously disappointing given their experience with their return of Kiara Bowers and but yeah, I don't know. I think Richmond are now 0-3 and last year's finalists needed 8 wins to make finals. They still have Adelaide, Brisbane, Melbourne, and North Melbourne to come into their draw. So it would seem finals might already be out of reach for Richmond. Um, but yeah, I'm not too sure between those two. I think Geelong. You don't know when Chloe Shear is going to come back in. Is indefinite. I think whether she comes back this season or not. But I
Yep.
still think they've got an easier run home than the other two. So I think yeah, it'd be tough to see.
Yeah, I'm with you. Fremantle was one of those teams I was talking about as being a finals team. Richmond, I wasn't as high on them as some teams. I think they've still got an opportunity. Geelong, I think they've just been absolutely destroyed with their first three games in the season when it comes
Hmm.
to fixture difficulty. I
Yeah.
think they'll bounce up. I think they're fine. Richmond's been disappointing more is because I see their list, and again, I see names on paper, and again, names on paper are can be deceiving. I mean, we've
Yeah.
seen teams like the Western Bulldogs and the Melbourne Demons in the men's that have incredible
Hmm.
lists and have underperformed. So the
Yeah.
list sometimes is not always an indication on what is best. But
Yeah.
I was really high on Wyalup getting Ann Stanton, getting Kiara Bowers. They bring in Bella
Yeah.
Smith from the Sydney Swans to give him some height
Yeah.
until Anya Tide comes back from her ACL injury.
Yeah.
I was super high on this Fremantle team because I thought that this is an
Yeah.
incredible list. I think they're very good, and they just
Yeah.
have and again, maybe it's a little bit of the spoiling of two consecutive rounds where they get absolutely destroyed by two of the better teams in the
Mhm.
competition. It kind of puts
Mhm.
them back in their place. So I will say Fremantle, but Richmond's right there. I think this is a team. I think they should be better, and they're pretty much healthy. They don't have
Yeah.
the injury issues that some of the other teams have. So I'm a little
Yeah.
disappointed in both of those two. Fremantle a little bit more because I was really high on them at the start of the season, and unfortunately their fixture has absolutely tanked what I
Yeah.
thought could be an incredible season on that one. So I
Yeah, for
always
sure.
end my burning questions letting my co-host fan out a little bit. So, as the port supporter that you are, how far do you think this power team can go this year? Because with
Uh,
Matilda Schultz absolutely in fuego right now and the super young talent, how far do you think Port can go this year?
Look, after the first two rounds, I was kind of worried, to be honest. Obviously, tough two games at the start, but the way they played on the weekend, if they can back that up week to week, I don't think they'd be one of the teams that you need to watch because their future's going to be bright. But I think also they've got two tough games coming up. They've got West Coast away in Perth, and then they've got Melbourne at home the following week. If they can win both of them, it'll probably set them up to give them the top eight the best crack, I guess. But mind you, looking at their list, obviously they've got Lauren Young potentially coming back in, um, but their injury list is quite significant. Um, and I think I think they've only got 1 to 2 players left that they can probably bring in if they get any more injuries. So I think that's a bit of a struggle for them. Um, but yeah, if they play like they did on the weekend and they can stay injury free, I think they could definitely make the top eight and see themselves in the finals for sure.
Well, Gold Coast for me was the perfect little confidence booster after they got kind of kicked in the stomach a little bit with these first two
Yeah,
games. And again, like I said, the fixture, the way it's set up, the better you do the year before, the harder your fixture should be the next
yeah,
season. Again, that is all on if everything pretty much stays kind of the same. And this year it
yeah,
has, for the most part. I think Sydney is the little bit of the outlier a little bit because they're much better. I don't
yeah,
100% that I don't 100% believe that it's because of the fixture. I think Richmond's a good side. I think Sydney just played better. And then
yeah,
last week against Gold Coast, I was expecting they've been fighting injury this entire season. Unfortunately, it looks like them and GWS could be two of the whipping sticks. And for Sydney's
yeah,
luck, they have both of them on their schedule. So
yeah.
that will help. I think when you get Lauren Young back, if you can get the club as healthy as possible,
Mm-hmm.
this is a side they can make finals. Even with those two losses at the early of the year,
100%.
they have the
Yeah,
talent. But it's
they
when you
do.
look at it and you go, they have top up players being named in your extended side.
Yeah, 100%.
It's a little terrifying because
Yeah.
because you know that this is a top-up player. They
Mm-hmm.
are an emergency signing because of injury. It sucks losing Caitlin Wedland to a knee injury. I love Caitlin to death. I loved her at Central Districts. I thought she was an incredible ball winner. When I saw that she tore her ACL, I was like, it's gutting because she is such a great
Devastating.
depth midfielder
Yeah.
for a team that
Mm-hmm.
Abby Dowrick is fantastic, but if she goes down, you need that ball winning midfielder to come in.
Yeah.
Caitlin would have been perfect. Unfortunately, she
Yeah.
goes down.
Mm-hmm.
Cuthbertson's been hurt. I said Lauren Young is still kind of coming back from her second
Piper
ACL.
Windows out
Piper
for a
Window
few
has been
weeks.
fighting, and that's another depth midfielder
And
that you would need.
I've actually got a mate who got picked up in the draft, Gemma Charity. She's still coming back from knee. I don't know whether she'll play this year or not, to,
Hmm.
to be confirmed. But
And former teammate Kobe Morgan has been signed as one of the top up
yes,
players as well, which I'm
yes,
extremely happy for her. I hope she gets a game because her
yeah,
speed is incredible. I'd love to see her on the wing, put her and Shanae Goody on the wing and just let them have fun. It'd
yeah.
be,
Let them just run amok, I
it'd be
think.
fun to see.
Yeah,
I
for
hope,
sure.
I worry that she won't just because she is one of the last top up players.
Yeah.
So I worry
Hmm.
that she really is just kind of there to make it. And again, I really hope she does get a chance, but again, we just never know. I'm
Yeah.
just looking at it with their depth. I think they should be fine. it's just we just don't know how soon will Lauren Young come back, how soon will Piper
Yeah.
Window be back, and can they
Hmm.
keep injuries to a minimum
Yeah.
during this time period when they are really thin in a lot of areas on the ground. But I mean,
Yeah.
just talent wise, this team is a finals team, and I'm looking at the finals
100%.
roster going, can Essendon stay there? Can
Yeah.
Carlton keep it up? Will West Coast stay
Can
there? There's
can
three
Hawthorn
teams.
stay there? Even.
Hawthorne's less of my worry. Like I'm looking at it going. I think there's five teams right now who I think will make finals.
Yeah.
Adelaide, Hawthorn, Sydney, Nam, North. I think those
Yeah.
five teams will make finals. I'm not
Yeah.
sure on Essendon because again, will Lucy Wales come back? Their ruck because
Hmm.
they're surviving without a good ruck. When they face a really good ruck, let's see how they
Yeah.
go. They
Yeah.
did decent. They did decently, but again,
Yeah.
Richmond, Poppy Kelly is a good ruck, but she's not a great ruck.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it's not a Montana. If Montana McKinnon, I think that game goes a little bit differently when it comes to the ruck battle, and when you have the midfield, Richmond does.
Hmm. Yeah.
Carlton, again, did they catch Brisbane sleeping a little bit? We'll have to see again. I don't like their makeup. I think they're too tall. And I think as the season
Hmm.
goes on, when you get a little bit more speed and fatigue, will
Yeah.
Carlton come back? And then West Coast again has a lot of young talent, but can Ella Roberts constantly have these Superman type of performances to
Yeah.
lift her team? We'll see on that because Brisbane right now is not in finals. Brisbane will be
Yeah.
there. Brisbane will be
Yeah.
there. So Carlton, West Coast, Essendon, one of them will fall out and Brisbane will
Yeah.
join them. Brisbane will be there.
Yeah.
Can
100%.
Port do it as well? That'll be the
Yeah.
$1 million question for me
Yeah.
because like I said, it'll be fascinating. We're still early in the year. There's still
Yeah.
9 games still to play. There's a lot of
Yeah.
this. This is not going to stay the same. This is going to flex and move a lot. I mean, when you have North at 504%, it's
Yeah.
not going to stay that way. I mean, Brisbane, Adelaide, when they play those two, it will decrease. It will be a much closer game. So I think things will balance out a little bit
Yeah.
more. It'll be fun. Cannot wait. So let's have some fun. Let's go to the part of the podcast where I take over just the tiniest bit. I do a team of the week, and I'm not sure, Kiana, if you've watched any of the show when it comes to my reviews. Is I do a team of the week where I go through all 9 games and I pick out some of the best performances and I put together a team of some of the great performances.
Yeah.
I tend to lean a little bit more on goals and scoring involvements because I think it impacts the game more than disposals. As much
Hmm.
as I love
Yeah.
Ash Riddell's 40 disposals, if you don't put any points on the board, it's a disposal. They can be quite an overleading stat. So
Yeah.
I put together a team. I want to see what you think of this because I think there'll be a few names on here that I think you will truly enjoy. So let's start off
Hmm.
team of the
Okay.
week, starting on the fullback line. A former teammate of yours, Molly Brooksby of the Port Adelaide
Oh,
Power, and
100%.
the
She had.
Adelaide Crows, Chelsea Bedell, will be the two on the fullback line. Along the halfback line, we have Georgia Clark of the Essendon Bombers, the ever ageless wonder that is Emma Carney of the North Melbourne Kangaroos,
Hmm.
and Jazz Grierson, first goal in 8 seasons for the Sydney Swans, rounds out the halfback line. Through the middle, we have your favorite, the ruck is Matilda Schultz of the Port Adelaide Power. When on the wings, we have Deanna Finn of the Carlton Blues and Sophia Hurley of the Sydney Swans. Through the
Hmm.
middle, we have Kate Hoare of the Melbourne Demons, Ella Roberts of the West Coast Eagles, and Ash Riddell of the North Melbourne Kangaroos round out the center. On the half
Yeah.
forward line, we have Indy Tahu of the Port Adelaide Power, Geelong's Aisling Maloney, and North's Blathen Bogue round out to the half forward line. On the full forward line, we have Carlton's Tara Bohanna, and last but not least, Port Adelaide's Gemma
Gemma
Houghton
Houghton.
rounds out the full forward line. On the
That's a
bench,
pretty good team.
I've got a bench. Wait up. Okay.
Oh, yes.
On the
Yes, the
bench, I
bench.
have defender, midfielder, a ruck, a forward, and then what I call a utility. So anybody
Hmm.
from any position will be the utility. The defender,
Hmm.
Maeve Chaplin of the Melbourne Demons. My
Hmm.
midfielder is Anne Hatchard of the Adelaide
Yes.
Crows. My ruck is
I love
Ali
that.
Morfitt of the Sydney Swans. My forward is
Hmm.
Georgia G of the Essendon Bombers. And my
Hmm.
utility is Collingwood's Carly Ramos. So that is the
Oh,
entire
yes.
team. Your thoughts on team of the week?
I think that's probably pretty solid team. They all played really well. I think your forward line's pretty elite. Your back line's holding up a fort, and your midfield running amok. I think that's a
I mean,
cracking team.
that's a scary midfield. Kate Hoare, Ella
Oh,
Robertson, Ash Riddell in the guts
oh
with
yeah,
Sophia Hurley and Diana Finn on the
yeah,
outside.
yeah, yeah.
That would be a nightmare.
That's
And then having Matilda Schultz tapping it down to them. Holy crap.
imagine you could have that as an actual team. Imagine that.
Ugh, that team would put up
You
150.
they'd compete with the men's teams. I think.
I there's some get after there's some mongrel in that team because I know said Kate Hoare
That's
and
hundred
Sophia
percent.
Hurley are two incredible tacklers. So
Yeah,
you're not gonna just get you're not gonna just get the disposal rankers. You're gonna get
yeah,
some mongrel and some get after. Absolutely
yeah,
love it. So
hundred
the
percent.
people that pay attention to my show know that I normally do power rankings, but as I told everybody, power rankings does not happen until we've had at least a third of the season. So we will
Yeah,
debut the first power rankings next week, as we will be a third of the way through the year after 4 games. So those of you that are looking for power rankings, we will start that next week. 3 games, just not enough form for coach to pick a power ranking. So we
yeah.
always end the episode tipping the next round. I know we're still early in the week. I know injury reports haven't come out. Let's have some fun, Kiana. We have a round four to tip and some interesting clashes on the second half of Indigenous round. I will pull this up. So we will start off a fun
One
one.
game that one game that I'm actually looking forward to watching this week is probably the Gold Coast and Giants. Obviously, both rough starts to the year. I think it'd be. What do you think your tip is for that one?
It's going to be interesting. I'm probably going to go the Giants because I think the injury to Charlie Rowbottom is absolutely it's a lot
Mm-hmm.
like Elise Parker
Yeah,
and
big loss.
GWS is kind of they've had a couple of weeks to kind of figure out how to do that. If
Mm-hmm.
Charlie Rowbottom is out, which I'm hoping she isn't. I'm hoping that maybe it's just enough of a niggle in the AC joint that she can get
Yeah,
a pain relieving jab and be able to play. Because if she's out, I'm not sure if I'm not sure if Claudia Whitford is back. Lucy Single is great through the midfield, but I don't think they've got the depth to replace her. Lily Mithen again is fantastic, but she's not the ball winner that Charlie Rowbottom is. So I we'll tip. Okay, we'll start off the
yeah,
Friday night footy game, the Friday night game. Um, actually, no, I forgot. There's no Friday night because of the men's final, so it's actually
yeah.
Saturday afternoon. We start off Nom v Richmond at Casey Fields out in Melbourne. Who do you like in this one?
I think my tip is pretty easy on this one. I think Nom are gonna get up. I think. Obviously being in Melbourne as well. Yeah, Richmond haven't had the easiest start to the year, and they're near the bottom of the ladder. So I think Melbourne have got this one pretty
Yeah.
easily.
Gonna tip Melbourne in this one, I think, just a little bit too. And I think they've already had that scare. So if I'm Richmond
Yeah,
a little bit, I'm a little terrified because I
yeah,
wouldn't be surprised if Melbourne's coach kind of pulled their heads in. It's like, hey, you can't have that type of performance against that type of
yeah,
team. If you want to do something in finals, that can't happen.
yeah,
You could get an
100%.
angry Melbourne team coming out and wanting to prove a point that Collingwood was,
Yeah,
he just had an off day. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see. Again, Richmond will have to see. I want to see them fire up. I'm just not sure this is the team that they're going to be able to fire up and get over. So I'm with you on this one. I
yeah.
have Melbourne. So let's go up to People First Stadium on the Gold Coast as the Sun play the Giants in a bottom of the table clash. One team hopefully should get a win. I'm going to tip
You,
GWS. I'm going to tip GWS in this. I know I don't say that there is because a draw is possible. And we
yes,
saw
yes,
three
that's
last year,
true.
so it's definitely possible. I'm gonna tip the
Yeah,
Giants. I think they've kind of figured out how to play without Elise Parker, and I worry that if Charlie Rowbottom is out, that is a huge rudder to this team that I think
yeah,
is already having trouble. I think Giants have some dangers. Zarly Goldsworthy, again, is an absolute superstar. Georgia Garnett. If GWS can get it in the forward half,
yeah.
if
Even Tani Evans.
well, and Mira Gervin will be out with concussion protocol, so she'll be out for 12
Yeah,
days, and that's one of their better defenders. It's a recipe for disaster for the Sun. I like the Giants in this one. I still think it's close because neither team is impressive, but I think the
yeah,
Giants have just a little bit too much class in areas where the Suns are hurting right now.
yeah. I agree. I think Giants. I'm tipping the Giants as well. I also have a mate of mine that play for them, so I want her to get a win as well, another win, which will be good.
Okie dokie. All right, let's go over Icon Park. I think this is going to be a sneaky good game. I think this is going to be a very sneaky good game. Carlton v the Western Bulldogs, Icon Park.
Mm.
Who do you like?
I'm tipping Carlton over this one. I think obviously last week's performance with Bulldogs, obviously conditions definitely impacted the game, but I think Carlton's performance against Lions, I think that shows where they're at um, this season. So I'm going to tip Carlton.
I'm going to tip Carlton, but I'll tell you this doggy side, they're scrappy, they're tough, they get after it. And Carlton coming off a big win, sometimes you see a little bit of a
Yes,
step
I do
back.
agree with that. Yes.
And facing a doggy side that's hungry, they get after it. They're scrappy as
Mm,
all get out. This could be a
yeah,
huge recipe for disaster. If I'm Carlton's coaching staff, you have to keep these girls' feet on the ground
yeah,
because if they start moonwalking, the Bulldogs are going to get them. I can almost guarantee it. Tipping Carlton, but
yeah.
will not surprise me if the doggies pull an upset on this one. Interesting one at Kazali Stadium up in Cairns as the Hawthorn Hawks take on St. Kilda. Fun one here. Who do you like?
I'm going to back Hawthorn in this one. I think, St Kilda have performed, they performed well against Crows. I think Crows weren't at their best at that point. St Kilda do look strong in moments, but I think Hawthorn, I think they'll get up this weekend.
Because it's up in Cairns, I'm going to tip the Hawks. In St. Kilda again. I worry that Crows game was a huge blip, and that's what I
Yeah.
worry about because they've been exposed the last couple of weeks. They had a couple
Mm-hmm.
of less lackadaisical performances. Hawks are playing well. I'm
Mm-hmm.
fascinated to see again. No Jazz Fleming really was noticeable in this last game against the Western Bulldogs. You've got a Georgia
Yeah.
Patrikios. You've got a Tanya Smith through the center at St. Kilda. Can St. Kilda capitalize on
Yeah.
one less gun being in the midfield?
Yeah.
Like the Hawks because of where it's being played. But
Mm-hmm.
again, St. Kilda is another one of those teams that I never want to count them out because they find ways sometimes to play games that is going to surprise you. Tipping Hawks will
Mm-hmm.
not shock me if St. Kilda pull an upset in this one. Fun one up at Henson Park. Cannot wait to see the red and the white show out at Henson Park. Sydney Swans v Wallulup Fremantle come to town. I'm going to tip Sydney, but this is a game that terrifies me. As a Swan supporter, this is a game that terrifies me. Sydney 3-0, playing well. Fremantle 0-3. They need a win. Will you
Yeah.
see a fired up Fremantle come to Sydney, or will you see a Fremantle side that is damaged, that is hurting, and come in wounded and absolutely ripe for
Yeah.
Sydney to capitalize on? That's the question. What Fremantle side shows up? Because if the best Fremantle side shows up, this is a game. If the
Yeah.
Fremantle side that showed up against North and Brisbane, this could be a long day for the visitors.
Yeah, I don't know. I think yeah, I agree with you. I think Sydney's form is definitely their attacking game. It's their attacking game's pretty elite, to be honest. And I don't think Frio, even with their best side, I think Sydney will still get up.
Yeah, this is again, this scares me as a Swans fan because this is the prototypical Swans riding high off a
Yeah.
big win. Fremantle absolutely backed into a corner. A wounded animal and a cornered animal is one of the most dangerous.
Hmm.
That's my worry on this one again. I'll
Yeah.
tip Sydney, but again, I'm definitely afraid of this game for sure. I'm
Yeah, for
so the
sure.
pessimist sometimes when it comes to situations like this. What I think will be a fascinating game at Norwood Oval as Kirwana, Adelaide take on Brisbane. So much fun to see these two behemoths lock horns. Who do you like in this one?
This is going to be the game to watch, I reckon. Both, finals contentions. Um, Brisbane obviously need to get up to make, you want to see them get up. Um, Obviously for the, to get into the top eight, they will need a couple wins. But Crows, they haven't been as strong as they have been in previous years. But I think, they've still got Sarah Allen out with injury. As soon as she comes back in as well, she's going to hold a fort back there. So I think I'd like to see Crows win, um, mainly because that Nord Nord's a great ground, as I know from playing there. Yeah, I think Crows will get up this week. I'm back in the Crows.
Oh, here's where we will have our first disagreement. I'm tipping Brisbane, and this is only because
Oh,
Adelaide struggle against Brisbane. I don't know what it is about Brisbane's style, but Adelaide, this is the one team Adelaide just absolutely has, gives them headaches because I think it's the way Brisbane run. Brisbane are like the Energizer Bunny. They just don't stop. They
yeah.
just keep coming. And I think for Adelaide, their biggest issue sometimes is that Adelaide is a contested bull type of team, but they are not a speed team. Like, let's just be honest. You've got some big bodies, you've got some strength, but you don't have a lot of
Hmm.
speed. I mean,
Yeah.
after Eloise Jones and really Stevie Lee Thompson
Hmm.
is starting to show Father Time is undefeated. There
Yeah.
really isn't a ton of speed on this Adelaide Crow side, and unfortunately,
Yeah.
I worry that that's Brisbane's bread and butter. I mean, you look at it: Sophie
Yeah.
Conway, Orleo Dwyer, Ali,
Anderson.
oh my gosh, Ali Anderson through the middle, Belle Dawes. There's so much
Hmm.
run from this team, and then their
Yeah.
forward line: Dakota Davidson, Taylor Smith. Just so many weapons. Jen Dunn has really cemented herself as that key back down back. So it'll be fun to see her and
Hmm.
Caitlin Gould go at it. It'll be fascinating.
Yeah.
I like Brisbane in this. The only thing that helps Adelaide is Norwood is skinny and
Yeah.
long. So
Yeah.
it does help Brisbane's run, but it congests everything to the center of the field because there isn't a lot of width. So that should
Yeah.
help Adelaide a little bit, but I worry Brisbane's run is going to give Adelaide headaches. I like the visitors in this one. I know it's tough. I like the Crows. I think the Crows are a fantastic side. I just think Brisbane coming off a loss, Starcevich very rarely loses two games in a row. And this is a
Hmm.
Brisbane side that has always given Doc Clark and the Adelaide Crows headaches. I'm going to tip the
Hmm.
Lions in this one, but this should be an absolute ripper, and I love it. This is a damn it. It's at the same time as the Swans game. Damn it.
Which one are you gonna watch? You can have both on.
I will watch
You
the
have one on
Swan
your computer, one on your.
I will watch the Swans game, and then I'll probably watch the entire Crows Lions games probably later on the next day. I can't not watch
Okay.
it. All right, let's go to the next one. Arden Street Oval.
Oh,
North Melbourne
this one's a
Kangaroos
no-brainer.
versus Collingwood Magpies. I don't think I have to ask. I think North win this and North win
I
this
think you
big.
can read my mind on this one.
I don't think I have to try very hard on that one. um, I
Um,
hope Collingwood give him a crack. I really, really do, but I worry this is another big score. Even if Jazzy Gardner is out, I still think the Crows. I still think the Roos just have a little too much firepower for a Pies team that is
yeah.
young, it's growing, it's developing. No, I'm
Yeah.
hoping Ruby Slicer's back. I'm not going to hold my breath on that, which is a really key cog that you could tell was missing in this game this last week
Hmm.
against Melbourne. So yeah, I like the Roos in this one. I'm pretty sure you like the Roos in this one, so I'm not even gonna
Yes.
not even gonna go there. Let's go to the
Yeah.
next one, which I think could be another game of the round
Yeah, this
type of
one. This
performance
one.
here. Cannot wait for this. Windy
I
Hill,
agree.
Essendon,
Mm,
Geelong. This is a must win for the Cats. This is a
yeah.
must win for the Cats. And this is where I see Essendon finally drop one. I tip in the Cats in this one. I liked the way the Cats played against Sydney. I don't think Essendon has the firepower that the Swans do. I like the
Yeah.
Cats to pull the upset here. Cats get the win
Hmm.
on the road.
Yeah. I think I'd like to see Cats get a win. Obviously, Essendon have performed well. They haven't lost yet. Um, but I think it's a tough call. I mean,
Plus the Sparkus Cup. You have the sisters playing each other too.
yes. Oh, yes, that's true. That's true. Um, I think, oh, this is tough. I want to say Geelong to win. Um, it, yeah, Windy Hill. Hopefully, it's windy. That might impact the game. The weather. Depends on the weather too. I think wet conditions, or if it's raining, wet conditions might impact the game. So it'll be interesting. I think I'm going to tip Geelong
Yeah,
for this one.
This one's going to be a good one. And I think even the last game of the round could be just as good as West
Oh,
Coast take on your beloved Port Adelaide Power out of Mineral Resources Park out in Perth. Can your
I
Power rally around on the road, or can the young West Coast Eagles under Daisy Pierce get another win early in the season?
I this is so hard. I think the depth in both teams to be able to move players around on the board, it's really helpful, having utility players. Matilda Schultz, she plays like she did on the weekend. Um, she brings her team together. Ella Roberts, though, I don't know. I can't really look past West Coast at the moment. Their form's pretty good. Obviously, they're sitting eighth, but as a Port supporter, I'm struggling to. I don't know. WA as well. I think West Coast might actually get it. I want to be realistic here.
Head in harder,
Um,
pulling you in two different ways, isn't
yeah,
it?
it's. I'm going to tip West Coast because WA. I think Port have been unlucky with injuries. I know that they'd be able to fill up a side, but I think West Coast will get up.
I'm gonna tip West Coast, but I'll say this. Sometimes a road trip with an injured team can really bond the group. And the way Matilda Schultz is playing right now, it is hard to find a better ruck. Right now, it is hard to find a
Yeah,
better ruck. Sarah
there
LeKay
isn't
is
one.
decent. Sarah LeKay is decent for the
Mim
West Coast
Strong's
Eagles.
good, but
But Mim
Mim
Strong
Strong's a
plays for
good ruck.
Fremantle,
But
not West Coast.
yeah,
So
I know
yeah.
that. I'm just
So
saying.
so
Yeah, I
this
don't
is
know.
this is one of those. Matilda Schultz has an instant advantage over Sarah LeKay. But here's the thing, you look at it is that you have an Ella Roberts in there who does does do we see a tag? Can somebody tag Ella
Yeah,
Roberts to try to take her out of the game? Because if you can get Ella Roberts out of the game, I think West Coast then is vulnerable. But does
yeah,
Port have that player? Because I know Piper Window did that a little bit last year, where she could attach an elite level player and kind of hold them a little bit quieter. No Piper, I think. Do you see them trying to put a player on her? Do you see maybe a Shanae Goody go on her to maybe use her speed,
yeah,
or do you see an Abby Dowrick, and do you see just the two monster midfielders go at each other, Abby Dowrick, Ella Roberts, and just say, hey, whoever wins, we'll see if Abby can be better than Ella on the day. So it's
yeah.
going to be a fun.
Even
I cannot wait for this one. I think it's going to
even
be a
Lucia
fantastic
Painter,
game.
who are they going to put on Lucia Painter? If they can deliver the footy to her, I don't think she'd get beaten.
I think potentially you could see Indy Tahoe go back to match
Yeah,
size. That way you
yeah,
don't have that way you can keep Molly Brooksby loose for her goose. That way you can keep Molly Brooksby loose for her kick. You can keep Sachi Syme loose too, so you don't have to worry
hmm
about it because you want their
yeah,
kicking out of the back because the ball's going to come in. Okay, West Coast is
yeah,
going to get it into your forward line. You need to be able to repel it as best as possible. I think you're going to
yeah,
need a bigger body to take Lucia Painter. I would not be surprised if Indy Tahu goes back this game to be kind of a one-on-one defender on Lucia Painter. That way, it frees up
hmm
your ball moving defenders in Molly
yeah,
Brooksby and Sachi Syme. I think
yeah,
I would not be surprised if um that's how the Port Adelaide coaching staff decide to handle that. Personally, I
yeah,
there isn't a defender for West Coast that I'm really worried about when it comes to matchups on Gemma Houghton because I think Gemma Houghton
yeah,
is such a difficult matchup.
hmm
Britain could, but I'm not sure if Britain's fast enough. So
yeah,
there's so many fun coaching. Like the coaching box would be so much fun to sit in and be a fly on the wall
yeah,
because they're going to tinker. It's going to be fun. So I cannot
hmm
wait. This could be another one, a classic. I agree with you. I think
yeah,
West Coast win this one, but Port, they're going to be in it. When you have a Matilda Schultz on your side,
hmm
anything is possible,
yeah,
especially when she's
100%.
playing a good ruck, but not a great ruck like she is.
Yeah,
So cannot wait. Well,
hmm
Kiana, that is it. That is all 9 games tipped. We've went through it. This has been so much fun to sit down. I really wanted to have you on last year, but just schedule didn't work out. So this has
yeah.
been an incredibly fun chat. Thank you so much for hopping on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Donny. And couldn't ask for a better round to talk about, to be honest. It was pretty exciting. Some record breaking stuff and some really big talents coming through, which is great to talk about always. So thank you for having me.
No problem. Like thought it was funny just behind the camera here, ladies and gentlemen. I messaged her during the port game, and I'm like, well, you picked a great round to go in just after the Swans game had ended, and that was
Yeah,
even before the Melbourne Collingwood game and the upset of Carlton Brisbane. Like
yeah,
I had messaged her how good the round was already, and we still had two of the better games still to go in the round. So it was like
yeah,
I was chuckling the entire time, going, well, I think Kiana
yeah.
picked
The
probably.
record breaking didn't last long.
I
Not even
know it
24
was.
hours.
Yeah,
It was
it was incredible. It was
yeah,
such a fun round of footy. Absolutely loved it. So,
yeah.
well, that is going to do it, ladies and gentlemen, for another episode of Donnie's Disposals. Again, if you like what you were listening to, please like and subscribe, and that'll do it for another episode. And we will be back with more footy coverage. Finals for most of the competitions are through, so we will have wrap ups. We have the waffle wrap up. We have both the men's and the women's to say who the premiers are. Those will be coming just after the men's final is over. The SANFL finals will get started this week. We will wrap up the men's finals after that. And the VFL, we have both the men's and the women's finals to discuss the way things turned out. Cannot
Mhm.
wait for it. And obviously, the AFL grand final. We will talk about who raises the flag after that particular competition. So, a lot of really great footy coverage still to come. We will be back with more footy coverage very, very soon.